Nathan, I'm a little disappointed that I didn't hear anything about the collective agreement. And so I'd like to know what your thoughts are on that and what you would try to do to have an influence on it.
Yeah, for sure. So for those of you that don't know, the Mount Allison Faculty Association, or MAFA's collective agreement, is up for negotiation. It's about to expire, and the negotiations will be ongoing through the summer and the beginning of next year. And it has a big impact on students, and it actually relates to a lot of what I was talking about, because the reason that we can't require that the results of teaching evaluations be released to deans and department heads is because of the MAFA collective agreement. The MAFA collective agreement talks about who can be on faculty hiring committees, what that process is. So it's something that we need to keep on. And right now, students don't actually have an official forum to express their concerns, because in the eyes of the faculty and the administration, it's not our concern. And that would be a large part of my job as VP Academic in the upcoming year, would be making sure that students are heard in that process, whether it be through meeting with the negotiators on both sides and the vice presidents, the PEG group, the president's executive group on campus. So that would definitely be a big part of my job.
Taking that one step further to tenure decisions about professors, one prof actually said off throughout this year that it's very hard to deny other profs tenure because you know them as individuals, know their financial situations. And I'm wondering what your position is on tenure decisions.
I think that, like hiring, it's important to have student input on that process. I understand the challenge in a community as small as this. We have the same problem on the student body, right? Everybody knows everybody, and it's hard to make impartial decisions. I know that the university rarely denies tenure to a tenure track prof. I think it's happened once in the last 30 years or something absurd. I think that the best thing that can happen, first of all, is actually to have a mandatory release of student evaluations of teaching so that it's apparent if there's a problem with teaching. I mean, that's the biggest concern for us, is what the quality of education we're getting is. And right now, if those tenure committees see the results of those, it's results that have been selected by the prof. And then apart from that, we just need to get as much student input on that as possible, which should include students on the committees, which doesn't occur at this point. It's still just faculty and administration.
Okay. I just wanted to ask you specifically, as you might be taking over the position of academic. There has been some questions about the format for English 1201. Now, as an English student, I'm aware that they're considering changing the format, and I know it was brought up in council. I also talked to a variety of my English professors to get their opinion on it. Do you feel that the move that they're trying to make to put it into more of a tutorial position of a class having one large seminar and then a variety of tutorials is a better idea? And if so, how do they plan on finding teachers to teach these tutorials? Because it cannot be expected that the amount of English faculty that we have now take over this position.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is an issue that I've already sort of been dealing with indirectly through the Academic Affairs Committee, because I am currently a senator, so I deal with academic issues at the university. Everything I've heard about this issue is that students don't want it to happen. English students don't want it to happen. Students that aren't English students that have taken the course don't want it to happen. The faculty in the English department doesn't want it to happen. It's something that is that the administration is trying to impose on them because they think that it's a better way for them to teach. In my mind, that's not okay. I think teachers should be allowed to teach a course in the way they believe they can do it most effectively and the way their experience tells them they can. So I think that my opinion on that issue would be in line with the position of the students that take the class and the faculty that teaches it.
So Nathan, as you said, like a lot of your kind of platform is stuff that's been going on either this year or in years past. So I'm just wondering what you're going to do next year what you're going to do differently to kind of make those successes for the staff.
I don't think that I need to do the job next year radically differently than it's been done before. I've already built up relationships with faculty, administrators, members of Senate, and I would intend to use those relationships, build really great working relationships where we can have a dialogue and figure out where the disconnect is between what we want and what they want, because there's clearly something that we're not understanding and they're not understanding. I personally don't understand how anyone could think that a university doesn't need a career counselor. It seems absurd to me. And I think that what needs to happen is we just need to sit down and talk a lot with them and like get to the root of the problem and figure out where we can find room in the budget and just work with them. I don't think there's a radical change needed in the way that this is working. The key is to just keep working at it, because we just need to keep harping on the administration until they listen.
All right, I'm going to ask a different question. Sorry. All right, so you have many qualifications for running for VP Academic Affairs. You've had many years on the SAC, you've been a senator, you've been all sorts of things. What else? He's represented the houses, you've done a lot of things. Well, you also clearly seem to have a really good understanding of the importance of the SAC and the relationship between the student body. Now, since you're not running against anybody, I'd like to hear your opinion on something else. We have running for VP Campus Life 2 people who have never been on the SAC, who have never experienced relations past Ron Byrne or Dale Churchill, which it seems. And that is worrisome to me. For one of the positions that is an elected position, that is a paid position, that we have somebody who's not going to be, who I don't see as being qualified. Now, I may be wrong, my opinion, whatever, but I want to hear what you have to say, not whether or not they're qualified, because that's a little mean, but whether you think, what do you think your qualifications for a position are, for being on the executive of the SAC?
Wait, sorry, I lost you at the very end of the question.
What you believe the qualifications for being on one of the 4 elected members of the SAC? What do you feel are the 4 most important things, and whether or not the people for VP Campus Life have them?
Whether the people for, this is talking about VP Campus Life.
This is not for VP Academics. Because you're higher up in the food chain than VP Campus Life, and you technically are one of their superiors. Am I right? Like that?
I probably wouldn't look at it that way.
Okay. That's my question.
Okay. I'd like to start by saying that I don't think you have to have been on the SAC before to do a good job on the executive. In my time on the SAC, I've worked with some really excellent executive members who didn't sit on the SAC before, including probably one of the best VP academics who's ever lived in the last 3 years. And I probably shouldn't say who that was. Anyway, and including VP Campus Lives who've never done it. Campuses, I don't know, pluralization. So it's tough to know. I mean, for the job of VP Campus Life, I think it's about, it's a really tough question. You should be. I mean, I think the key, especially for that job, is just being in constant contact with students and their ability to do that and be accessible. And I don't personally know either of the candidates, so I don't know whether either of them have it. I don't think them not being on the SAC would impede their ability to do the job. Sorry, that was only sort of a half answer.
Jared McDonald was the best executive in the last 3 years. But that kind of segues into my question.